After a side quest last week trying to plug in an iPad, Loki and Sylvie are back at the TVA. So let's talk about episode 4. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Let me know, what did you think about episode 4 of Loki? This is a spoiler review, so feel free to spoil away down below in the comment section. The way this works is I kick things off with my general thoughts on the episode, and then I'll kind of walk through the specific things that happen, give my thoughts, theories about all of it, and there will be chapter markers down below so you can skip ahead. And one thing before we get started, yesterday I posted my spoiler-free review for Black Widow. If you didn't check that out, the link is right up here. And let's get started talking about my general thoughts. And let's get right to it. That's more like it. Wasn't terribly big fan of last week's episode. This one was a return to what I thoroughly enjoyed about the first 2 episodes. We're back at the TVA. Characters built relationships while the plot moved forward. And there was at least 4 different whoa, what just happened moments. And maybe there's more than that, but just as I was trying to count them, I counted 3 and then I went, wait, this happened too. Oh yeah, like this episode was filled with things that are just kind of like turn the whole show on its head as you're like, I'm not sure where this is going anymore. It's heading in the direction I thought it was going, but the specifics, it's keeping me guessing. And this episode also confirmed why I was critical of last week's episode. So last week's episode, they get stranded on random planet where they got to plug in their iPad, and it's just an excuse to have a lot of Loki and Sylvie interacting with each other, seeing their differences, their similarities, and revealing some things that we needed to see about this world. But at the same time, the actual plot line about that planet, about plugging in the iPad and everything like that, we kind of knew that stuff wasn't really going anywhere. They weren't actually going to die. And this episode picks up and, yeah, they go right back to the TVA. Basically, all of that was a side quest. It was just like, okay, we just need some time for the 2 of them to get to know each other. So we'll go over here for a little bit and come right back where we essentially were at the end of episode 2. But this one picked right back up where I was kind of hoping that episode 2 was good, or where I thought hoping episode 3 was going to go, with expanding the relationships and interesting stuff that happened. So I thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and not terribly surprising as we're slowly discovering everything that we were told in the first episode was a lie. And we're learning that everyone on this show are compulsive liars, whether they know it or not. We knew Loki was a manipulative liar, and then he's working with this group of people that are manipulative liars, and they don't know it. And there's some high up manipulative liar that we haven't even met yet. And so that's just kind of fun as you go through a show and start to realize the whole thing is about the lies that shape reality and the ways that people manipulate each other. And so you can even kind of go into it of like Loki, master of mischief, compulsive liar that's always trying to sweet talk people and saying whatever they want to hear. And then you put them in a place where it's all about people being lied to, enforcing the reality that someone up here wants. I don't know. Seems like the perfect place to kind of perfect foil for Loki that's interesting, and then throwing multiple Lokis in the mix adds to the intrigue of it. But like all along throughout this episode, multiple people die. Obviously, I'm assuming you've seen it. Multiple people die in the episode, and you're going, whoa, that can't really do that, can they? And then it happens again, and you realize, wait, this wasn't what we thought it was. Where's this going now? Because episodes 1 and 2 kind of established the goal was to take out these guys. Okay, that's not what this is about at all. But we're still heading in that same direction of trying to answer that question of who is behind all of this. Let's stop them from what they're doing. And so I'm thoroughly enjoying this show. Misstep a little bit last week. Wish they could have done something different with that. Otherwise, this is a cool show that's raising questions that feel like they can actually be answered. Actions feel like they're tying into the MCU in big, gigantic ways. And you can see how it's setting some things up in interesting ways. From there, let's do our walkthrough starting at the beginning. So things kick off and we fly into Asgard and we see Sylvie as a little girl playing with toys. Portals open. Ravonna, the boss lady, walks out, takes her, and just immediately kind of feels kind of almost like the dread in it of like it's this innocent child. Clearly she's not trying to do anything wrong. She's literally just playing with her toys, and they take her and walk her through that same process that we saw Loki Phase 1 go through in the first episode. And when you watch Loki Phase 1 go through all of that, you process it through the mindset of like, yeah, this guy's kind of a jerk. He's a bad guy. He's mischievous. He's up to no good. That, like, for him, this is the day after the Battle of New York. He's done bad things to earn all of this. And you just kind of, like, not that you liked them, but you can kind of accept that he's doing some bad stuff. So this makes a lot of sense. And then when you see it done to an innocent child, your interpretation of all of this is like, oh, this is gross. Like, they're taking, oh, wow. Like, and you immediately interpret all of this through a wildly different lens as it's an innocent child rather than a villain going through this process. And as she's about to go through the sentencing, she steals Ravonna's little iPad doodad portal machine, jumps through a portal, and sets her off on the life that she's had, portal hopping, being a thorn in the side of TVA. And then it kind of pans up and you see Ravonna, boss lady, go up the elevator and walk into the room, and you see the timekeepers up on their thrones in front of her. And so you kind of realize, okay, this episode, we're actually going to figure out some stuff about these timekeeper people, figure out what's kind of going on with them. Or will we? So then after meeting with the timekeepers, she meets up with Mobius and they kind of talk about how things went bad. I guess it's kind of sort of running parallel to the events of the previous episode. This is their follow-up to all the bad stuff that went down in Alabama. Kind of find out she's in trouble. Timekeepers weren't crazy about what went down. Mobius wants to find out what happened to C20, the lady that was kidnapped. And then she said, they're real, they're real. And she's this person that gave away the location of the timekeepers and everything. And that we saw a glimpse into her memory from the beginning of the last episode. So we saw a piece of her past. And so Mobius wants to talk to her to kind of try and piece things together, learn as much as he can to try and figure all of this out. And boss lady reveals, no, we put her down. We had to prove her. She went crazy. Her mind was washed. And immediately, once again, you're kind of in this moment where we have this information to know, like, okay, we know she was killed off because she was revealing reality. And she starts saying the lies to Mobius, who has been a team player up to this point in time. You know, he's got a little bit of a rogue side to him, but he's been a team player up to this point in time. And so as she's saying this stuff, like, yeah, she was going crazy. Her brain was scrambled. We just had to prune her. We just had to get rid of her. All of that sounds even so much crazier when you're in this moment where, like, seeing, like, oh, these are the lies that they've been told all this time. And they just kind of gone on, oh, they just feel like even bigger gut punches as you hear the craziness with all the information that we have at this point in time. Kind of sets the stage for where all of this is going to go throughout the rest of the episode. So then we cut back to our apocalypse planet with our Lokis there, who are starting to accept that they're about to die in this apocalypse. And this is kind of where some of this the last episode just kind of rang hollow to me, that they left on this cliffhanger, like, are they going to die here? And you know that's not what's going to happen. You know that won't be very satisfying if it happens, because it's just, okay, they died on Apocalypse and now the show's over? Of course not. And so you just kind of know all of this doesn't matter really. So they sit down, have this moment where they think they're going to die. Loki Phase 1 apologizes to Sylvie. And, you know, they just kind of have this heartfelt moment about how she exists because the universe wants a little bit of chaos. And so it brought her into reality. And she's like, they took me as a child. This is all I've ever known. I was hopping around from world to world, just trying to live, and kind of have this, touching moment between the two of them. And then they reach out, like touch and hold hands of sorts. is my interpretation of it. And so as they do this back at TVA, this creates its own like Nexus event of the two of them being in contact, having this moment, spikes the Nexus event, which in apocalypses, normally we don't see these moments because they're about to be destroyed. So these variants of the Nexuses don't happen. But so something weird is going on here. And then Mobius even says as he's looking at his monitor, like, have you ever seen anything like this before? I've never seen anything like this before. So something about these two Lokis being super friendly with one another creates some gigantic issue with the time stream. There's some reason we need to keep our Lokis away from each other, that no one is fully aware of exactly what it is. But so TVA agents show up and arrest them. So we're essentially back where we were at the very beginning of episode 3. Hence my issues with episode 2. All of that stuff. The plugging in the iPad doesn't matter. The apocalypse doesn't matter. It was just a way to have some time with these two characters. And you just wish that they could have found some other more consequential thing that actually tied into the story rather than have a subplot that goes nowhere. Literally goes absolutely nowhere because that world is destroyed by an apocalypse and that was always going to be what was going to happen. It just didn't matter. It was just stalling time so the two of them can get to know each other better. Anyway, we're back at the TVA. Mobius wants to interview both of our Loki variants and figure out what's going on. He wants to do his job, do proper investigation. Clearly, he's suspicious of what on earth is going on here. He doesn't know who to believe or trust. Sits down with Loki, and you start to get to kind of the heart of what this episode was about, kind of what the show is about on some thematic levels, where Mobius is trying to get Loki to admit what's really going on. When did you really meet Sylvie? When did this happen? When did this happen? And you have two people that just don't trust each other. There's so many lies between them that nothing said by Loki or either one of them can be taken at face value. So at the end of it, Loki says to him, like, Mobius, you've been lied to. The TVA is lying to you. This is all a lie. Which, Mobius is kind of believing that. He thinks something's up. And at the same time, coming from Loki, not the most trustworthy person to say this to. So Mobius pushes Loki through this portal, and he gets stuck in this time loop where Lady Sif just keeps walking up to him, slapping him. And it's just literally this little bit where she walks up, slaps him, and he keeps trying to find a way to like talk his way out of it or something like that. But the moment just keeps repeating where he gets slapped. And reminiscent of the end of Doctor Strange with the time loop, and you immediately go, wow, imagine how awful life would be if it couldn't move forward and you were just stuck in this same moment. That truly would be torturous. So then Mobius goes talk to Boss Lady, and he really, really wants to talk to Sylvie, get like, what on earth is kind of going on with all of this? And he's like, I think there's a mastermind, but I don't think it's Loki, which is somewhat what in the speculation of all these videos we've been saying all along, like there's something up here that hasn't been revealed yet. Whoever the real villain is, whatever it is, we don't know who it is. Of course, it's going to turn out to be Mephisto because this is the internet and he's the answer to all questions. So, but something out here is that we've got to track down, figure out the real mastermind in all of us. But Boss Lady's like, no, you can't talk to Sylvie. I'm worried. I'm worried that she'll hurt you and she'll scramble your brain. We'll have to prune you. So she says it as if she's worried about him, but clearly, there's more to it kind of going on than just that. So then Mobius pulls Loki out of his time loop to interrogate him once again. And she's trying to figure out, when did he first start working with Sylvie? What on earth is going on? And Loki and the two of them just start lying to each other compulsively. Loki's like, oh yeah, she approached me a while ago and we set this whole plan in motion. Mobius claims that, yes, Sylvie's already been killed. She's dead and she's already gone. So, and they're both just like toying with each other, trying to figure out who will call each other on what. And then Mobius points out like you like have feelings for her. He has this weird little twist of like Mobius saying that Loki is in love with Sylvie, which would mean he's in love with himself, which kind of already knew that. He's a total narcissist. Would make sense that he would be attracted to himself. very weird, creepy plot line, depending how far down this path they go, or depending, maybe there's some plot twist and it would make it okay, but bit of a weird deal. And he's like says to Loki, kind of puts the premise out there that like, Loki, I can't trust you. You've lied to me 10 times in this conversation. How could I believe anything that you would tell me? So Loki puts all of his cards on the table. It's like, you're all variants. You had a past. She has her enchanting powers, unlocked H20 or C20's brain and saw memories. Like, she has a past. Like, so do you. You came from someone, they've erased your memories, put you here, and you're being manipulated. Mobius like declares case closed, heads out of there. And that's what it. This episode is a lot of back and forth. Mobius is trying to figure out what's going on. So he talks to this person he doesn't trust, and he goes to talk to this person he doesn't trust. And everyone's going back, talking forth to everyone, trying to piece things together and decide what exactly is going on. So police lady that arrested Loki at the very beginning of the series, that has been not trusting of Loki from the beginning. Clearly, this whole episode, she's upset. She was asking about what happened to C20. She's trying to figure out what happened. And Mobius was told, you can't tell anyone what happened. So she's upset in a hallway, reads a sign about deleting anything that deviates from the path. And clearly something, she doesn't trust what's going on. So she goes to talk to Sylvie, and she's like, what? I saw stuff in my head. What's going on? It's like, you had a past. And she'll tell me more. They walk through a portal, and you can see like, okay, whatever's happening here, it's all about to go down. So once again, Mobius goes and talks to Boss Lady with the third time this episode, where he's having a conversation with her. Clearly more and more he doesn't really, like, why on earth is she keeping me from Sylvie? Why is she not informing me what's going on? Why did she erase one of my friends? And she's trying, Boss Lady's trying to win over Mobius by like, hey, they'll actually let you observe the pruning. You can actually meet the timekeepers. You can actually see them. She's trying to like woo him with like promotion type stuff. And you can be like, he's clearly doesn't think any of this is adding up. He's suspicious of the C20 story. So they supposedly, like, this Boss Lady's claiming they have this special friendship, but she's not being remotely trusting. So when she turns around, he grabs her little phone dealio, puts it in his shirt, walks outside, pulls it out, watches the video, and sees the interrogation where C20 was like, I had memories. They were my memories. She didn't put them in my head. Like, that was my life. What happened? And through that, he's like, okay, Loki was telling the truth. Like, this is all a lie. This is fake. And you start to really get in this realm of like, oh, whoever's running the TVA, like, these people are sick. And in this other sense, you also have this problem of like, so all throughout the first two episodes, Lady Loki was killing all these TVA agents who were just victims themselves. And she knew that. And so you see the ambiguity in some of this of like, okay, how do you fight a system that's has a bunch of soldiers that themselves are victims? It's a tricky setup to be in. So then we get to Cop Lady and Sylvie. They're back at Roxcart. And she kind of explains everything that's kind of going on. The enchanting powers, how it all works. And she's like, okay, what do we got to do? Let's do this. Let's go make it happen. And you see now Mobius is on Team Loki. Cop Lady's on Team Loki. And we are moving towards crazy stuff. This brings us to like the last 20 minutes of the episode where it just all goes down and it starts getting super bananas. So Mobius returns to Loki and he says, man, I believe you, man. Let's do this. We got to do what we got to do. And even pauses for a moment to have like a little pep talk where I always love moments where people use their words to kind of bring out the best of someone when they like a moment's just designed just right. Because these two have this bizarre kind of friendship, adversarial relationship where clearly you can tell that Mobius has thought there's something in Loki that's good. That's why he put this whole plan together. He also doesn't trust him. He also knows he has a bad side to him. And he like pauses just before they walk out and say like, man, use your skill for good. Like, you got a good guy in there. be the good guy. They walk into the hallway. Boss lady standing there, multiple TVA agents. Mobius tries to hey man, I found your device. You want it back? And clearly she's not buying it. She knows he's been corrupted. And kind of that moment. And earlier in the episode, they had this little conversation about if you could go anywhere, where would you go? What moment would you go to? And Mobius finally answers the question. He goes, if I could go to any moment, I would go to any moment that was my real life. You erased my life, forced me to be here. And then she prunes him and takes him out. And you're watching whoa, they just killed him off. You're getting ready for the whole team's going to get together. We're going to go battle the timekeepers. And then, whoa. They killed him. Well, that just happened. You can see she's not happy about it. She didn't want to do it, but it happens. And I'm sure he'll come back. I'm sure it's not the last we've seen of him. There'll be some way that wherever they go, whatever that means, however it'll plays out, I'm sure he'll get his happy ending, and we will see Owen Wilson on a jet ski by the end of this show. He will ride that jet ski. But for this moment, she took out her friend. She implies they have this special friendship, and she killed him because he acknowledged the truth to other people. And this all kind of leads to final little moments. And I guess the other one is police lady goes into Sylvie's office to see her. She immediately knows this isn't right. The other cop lady's been corrupted. And this leads to our final bit, where our two Lokis are taken up to the timekeepers, and you walk into the room, and the timekeepers start talking, and it's all kind of hollow. This should be this big reveal. These are the guys. What are they going to say? And it's all just generic platitude, empty sentiments that feel like generic lines that these types of characters would say. And you're okay, it's a little bit underwhelming for what you'd expect from a conversation with the big bads of the season. I was kind of expecting it to have a little bit more weight to it. Then the elevators open up. Cop lady frees our two Lokis. A fight breaks out where our Lokis take out several of these TVA agents, and then they take out the middle of the timekeepers, and it's just its head falls down. And there's some garbled things said, and you realize it's just a robot head. This is all the Wizard of Oz. And there's someone behind the curtain. We haven't found the curtain to look behind yet, but this is the great and powerful Oz, the Mirage, that is not, in fact, the actual people that we've been looking for. I'm not terribly surprised by this reveal. I kind of always assumed there was going to be something beyond all of this. Kang being the running rumor based off of who we know is coming and what other ties in different places. But so, ta-da! They're nobody. They're just robots. They're literally empty robots just saying empty things. And so then, going back to previous lines in the show, Mobius does what's dictated to him by, Boss Lady. Boss Lady does what's dictated to her by timekeepers. Timekeepers are just saying whatever this person up here says. It's a long line of people following orders. No idea why. No idea what any of it means. But the mystery remains, who's behind all of this? Who is trying to control time and dictate and determine the outcomes of everything that's taking place? Who is that person that is out there? So then Loki starts having this moment where he's going to admit his feelings and to sort through all of this. You start to think, is he about to admit his love to himself, this Sylvie? Is he about to kiss himself? Because this is getting weird. This is super duper moving into weird category. And then he's vaporized. The lead star of our show, Loki Phase 1, is pruned right in front of our eyes, killed. You start going, okay, this... I don't know where we're going now. I don't know what even this means, but all of my guesses about what this show's going to be, what on earth is happening now? So Sylvie defeats Boss Lady. She's on the ground. Boss Lady's like, kill me. And she's like, no, you're going to tell me everything. Credits roll for the moment. So then we get a mid-credits scene. Cut to Loki lying on the ground. He's in fact not dead. And he's like, is this hell? And then you just hear these voices saying, no. Am I dead? Nope, not yet. But you will be if you don't come with us. And then it cuts to a shot of 4 people, actually. At first glance, it looks like 3 people. And it looks like a Thor variant and 2 Loki variants. But then if you look closer at it, in fact, it's 3 Loki variants because the child Loki is holding like an alligator, crocodile Loki. He's got the horns and everything. So there's actually 3 Loki variants, assumedly, in this picture, plus Thor variant. And the one that was talking was Richard E. Grant. There's been a bunch of speculation as to what his role in the show will be. Ta-da! We now have him, and it appears to be old Loki variant with comedically ridiculous looking costume in the best way possible. Best way, that's not a criticism. That is a compliment to it. All of it being like, okay, where are they? What realm are they in? Where's the, like, is this some other reality, multiverse, some other thing outside of the timeline? Where are they? And if this is where Loki ended up, does this mean Mobius is right down the street in his own little... What does it mean that these people are in whatever this space is? And how many Lokis, how many alternate Thors are going to team up for wherever this is headed? And what doors are opened by the possibility of this moment here? Because you even think... One of the things that was in the rumor mills that's been out there discussed before was what if they did in Multiverse of Madness, maybe there's going to be this segment where they show us a bunch of like Marvel Phase 1 characters and they're going to try and get the actors that were almost cast, like maybe getting Tom Cruise to be Tony Stark, maybe get John Krasinski to be Captain America, and kind of show these alternate versions of what could have been, and these little cameo appearances. It would just be cameos seeing these alternates. And then you see this moment and you go, okay, I knew we were going to do variants, but like we're full blown variant world where that's so on the table of seeing alternate versions because it's happening right now. Mini variants, not just one, not just this girl, but like Lokis, a bunch of them are apparently going to team up in some sense to try and stop whoever the time dictator are, not timekeeper, time dictator from whatever this is. Count me interested. So some closing thoughts and predictions. I don't know if I'll have any useful, interesting theories, predictions, or anything like that. But as I said before, this is what I wanted. This is where I wanted episode 3 to go. And I think immediately you just feel the difference between episodes 1, 2, 4 versus episode 3. Episode 3 was, they just needed to do the character work. They needed to build a friendship, a bond there. They needed to put some information out there, and they weren't able to come up with a story to do that actually stuck with the main narrative. So then you have this episode where it's like, go over here for a little bit so we can get that work done. Now let's go back to the main storyline. And every time they're on the main storyline, I'm fascinated by this time stuff, the way that no one is as they seem, which feels like is what should be the case with a Loki show. That he's not just dictator guy that's all bad, and he's certainly not all good. The governmental structure that we think is in place that at the beginning is established as the police that are trying to keep order, in fact, are not trying to keep order. They're tyrants that are doing deeply evil things to control all of reality. And then we would discover they don't even know that's what they're doing. They don't realize that they're the bad guys in the story. They're the heroes of their own adventure, and their glorious purpose is all built on a lie. And we're slowly getting towards that truth, and I'm excited to see what it is. And the other thing about episodes 1, 2, 4 is that they're just packed with kind of these, what on earth is going on? Like truly shocking cliffhangers, killing people off, reveals, while doing it in a way that still feels conventional. It still feels like I know the direction we're moving in. The exact target is changed, but it's further in the same direction. I know what I'm working towards. I just don't know exactly how it'll play out. And I like that about this show. And so I'm digging it. I don't really know where this is going next. You can see kind of like how things tied to some other things. I do not have guesses as to what the next 2 episodes will be. I just don't know, like, at all. So let me know your theories down below. What are you thinking about the show in general? What did you think about this episode? Comment down below. Come back next week for my take on episode 5 and keep talking movies and TV too much.